Welcome to Awake to Oneness Radio. I am Caroline Chang, the host. The mission of Awake to Oneness Radio is to inspire the world to awaken to the universal truth of oneness. Science is now teaching us that all life is interconnected and interdependent. And also, ancient wisdom and spirituality has been teaching the truth of oneness for eons. So literally, what you do to another person, you're doing to another aspect of yourself. And when mankind awakens to the universal truth of oneness, there would be peace on earth. Today's show topic is Music Loves Math with Joe Ghartey. Joe, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yeah, pretty close. It's Ghartey.
Ghartey.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny. When I lived in Ghana for a while, and I went to a boarding school. And when I went to boarding school the first time, I mispronounced my name in announcing myself to the class.
Oh, okay.
So if you pronounce it slightly wrong, it's okay.
Okay, well,
because I did for 13 years.
Oh, okay. Well, my listeners, my regular listeners, are so used to me not pronouncing it. But I meant to, in the pre-show, before we got started, I meant to ask you how to pronounce your last name. So it's Ghartey. Ghartey, yes. Well, Joe, please, thank you. Thank you so much for being my guest on Awake to Oneness Radio. I had the honor.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yo, thank you. I had the honor of meeting you and your mom in person about a month or so ago. The time flies. But when I met you, your mom mentioned that you have a nonprofit organization, and that's why I invited you on to Awake to Oneness Radio. I do a lot with nonprofit organizations, and I want you to share about you first. Share with our listeners and our viewers who you are and what you do, and how you came about founding Music Loves Math. Okay.
So I'm Joe Ghartey. I founded Music Loves Math about 7-8 years ago, I think. And at the time, I was producing music in Ghana. I had a music studio. My brother's a singer.
Okay.
And I'm a writer and producer. So we wrote a song that became a big hit in Ghana and across Africa. It was called My Lady. My brother's name is Jay Ghartey.
Okay.
So we had a studio in Ghana. And at the time, I was very active. I always felt it important for me to give a percentage of whatever I made to charity and to be active in giving back to the community. Yeah. And when I was spending more and more time in Ghana, I realized how much I could do with the money that I was spending, how much more I could be doing if I use that money in Ghana effectively.
I got you. Mm-hmm.
And that's when the genesis for the idea of doing something in Ghana came.
Right. Well, also, I know your background a little bit because I met you and your mom a few weeks ago. But why don't you share with our listeners and our viewers your connection to Ghana, and your background with Ghana?
My father is Ghanaian and my mother is Canadian. And I was born in Canada, moved to the U.S. Boston area when I was 4 or 5. But then when I was in middle school, my parents agreed that my mother and the 4 of our siblings would move to Ghana to get Ghanaian culture, essentially. Okay. Because we'd grown up in Boston, and my father really wanted us to know where he came from, and wanted us to feel like that was our home as well. It's actually pretty genius because he just passed last year. Yes. And I will say that if we hadn't gone back, I wouldn't have that connection that I have to Ghana now, the friends, the knowledge of my family. And so it kind of would have disappeared when he passed. But by asking us to go there, having us go there, he kind of brought us into the culture, you know, and gave us a second home. And so, so I lived there for about 3 years with my mother and siblings, and then I came back to the U.S.
Okay.
But then I'm going to give you a slightly longer version of how I ended up making music, because that's not actually what I started doing.
Okay. Well, no, please give us the long version. We want the long
okay. So when I came back, I came to high school in the U.S. and I went to Harvard and I studied applied mathematics. That's where the math comes from.
Okay.
And my love for math, you know, started. And I love teaching as well, teaching math as well. When I was in college, I would tutor kids and things like that. When I left Harvard, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, so I figured the best thing to do would be to go to Wall Street and try and make some money.
Yes.
So, so I went to Wall Street. I didn't know what else to do with myself. There's a lot of 21, 22-year-olds do.
Right.
So my father said, "Okay, Joe, you go and make some money, huh?" So I went to JP Morgan, and I worked here for 13 years.
Okay.
And ended up was a managing director there for a while. And when I left, I just decided to step into the studio with my brother. I'd always kind of helped him out with his music financially, but was interested in getting involved more musically.
Yes.
And after a little while, I realized that I could probably do the audio engineering myself if I had the equipment. So I bought it, started doing audio engineering. And then my brother and I started creating music together. And he wrote a song that was half in Tree. Tree is a Ghanaian language.
Okay.
The Tree and Ga and Ewe are like the three main languages. So the song he wrote was half in Tree and half in English.
Okay.
And we wanted to use the music, but the producer who wrote the original instrumental wanted $10,000 for the instrumental, which we did not have. And also, given that we were writing a song to put out in Ghana, where there wasn't a whole lot of money in music, it just didn't make any sense at all.
Right.
So I gave it a shot to reproduce the music, and it worked. And as soon as that happened, we made a couple more songs, and off the races. I started making music, and we released it in Ghana, and that one song became a huge hit in Ghana.
Okay.
And actually across Africa. And so that's how I kind of got into going back to Ghana on a regular basis. I hadn't been going regularly.
Okay.
So it was kind of a kind of fortuitous combination of things that brought me to music, and then also brought my brother and I together to go back to Ghana.
Yes.
So once we were in Ghana, I was on the ground and saw the need.
Yes.
And also, the respect for education that people had, and given the opportunity, given the access to it, how much it would be appreciated.
Right.
So, yes, so so many things come together. It's really interesting the way the world works. Like you said, there really is one energy that kind of combines all of us, and also a lot of our lives.
Yes.
When I was growing up in Ghana, there was a steward named Mr. Tumti. I think my mother might have spoken about him, actually.
Yes, he did. She did.
And he had 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
And although they lived in the house kind of next to us, and also where they're from, they would come and we would play together. And so in a way, we grew up together.
Yes.
So when I came back, I kind of rekindled our connection and found out that they were both teachers.
Okay.
And when I found out how much money they made, I think it was something like $200 a month, maybe.
Okay.
Yes.
That's very little.
Yeah. It was about $200 a month.
Okay.
And so, and I realized that I could rent a schoolroom for $100 a month, maybe.
Okay.
So, with under $5,000, I could have an entire a small school.
Right.
with a full-time teacher.
Yes.
And link it up with the community to provide supplemental education.
Yes.
So I realized the opportunity there, and so my brother and I kind of jumped forward. I just started it right off the bat, because I decided whatever money I was giving away, I wanted to more directly
be involved.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and my mother had been very involved in, my mother's teacher. My mother was my teacher actually for a while.
Yes.
She was my French teacher. But she, when we lived in Ghana, had contacted a group in Canada, and they donated an entire container full of books. And so she went all around the country opening libraries.
Okay, in Ghana.
Yes.
Ghana. Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah, she did a lot of great things when she was there.
Yes.
But kind of following in her footsteps, I said, okay, I want to make have an educational facility, but also a library. So we'll get books and ship them over. And so when the room isn't being used as a classroom, it can be a library.
Yes. Okay.
And then the other thing was that my music studio was fairly close to where the school is. And the school is in an area called Nima, which is the kind of the ghetto of Accra.
Okay.
So I realized there were a lot of students. Kids love music, right?
Yes.
And they love the idea of becoming a hip hop star or a pop star.
Right.
And so, combination of two things. One being that if the performer came to school regularly, they could go and use our studio as well.
Oh, okay.
So there's kind of a music and a math. That's where the music loves math name came from. Is that we're in music, but we want to use our relationships and what we have in music to help inspire you to
learn math
well academically.
Yes.
And also because we knew a lot of celebrities in Ghana, we could bring other artists by the school to help inspire the kids.
Awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. Because I had said to you before we got started that I've been teaching music I've been teaching piano for 25 years. And I always say to my students, there's a lot of math in music. There really is.
There really is.
Yes.
It's so interesting. I mean, it's interesting to say that because I had no idea that I could write music. I had no idea that I could write music until I started actually playing around with it and then reading some books on music theory and realizing how mathematical it was, how the patterns worked, and it's really amazing.
Yes, and not many people realize the connection between math and music. So it's really great that Music Loves Math. That is such a great title for your organization, and I love it because I don't love math, but I love music. I love music, and I know that there is a lot of math in music. And I've always told my students that.
Yeah.
Yes, when I'm teaching music theory, I say, you see the math there? I point it out to them. Yeah.
And I think that's the most fun part about music to me.
Right.
Was the music theory, just understanding how things went together.
Yes.
It is incredible, and then seeing that light go off in kids' head.
Yes. Because actually, studies have proven that students that study music, any instrument, they do better in school. Studies have proven that. Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
There's also a certain amount of discipline that comes with
discipline and focus.
Yes.
That's what helps them to do better in their studies when they learn the discipline and focus when they're practicing an instrument. Yes. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Yes. And I love one of the things you said when we met, you were sharing a little bit about your mom asked you to speak and to share about making that move to Ghana.
Yes.
And you said something that resonated so with me. I had gone to all white schools for many years.
Where did you grow up?
In New Jersey, actually.
Okay.
In New Jersey, in a little town called Oakland, New Jersey. My parents sent me away, me and my brother, to go to school in Oakland, New Jersey, which is a little suburban town in Bergen County, New Jersey.
Okay.
And my aunt, we went to live with my aunt, and my aunt had to be the only Black family in the whole town. So,
Wow.
yes. So I went to school there from 6th grade through high school. But at first I was 11 when my parents sent me away, and I was like, it was very disconcerting. Even though where I went to school before, it was half 50-50. I would say we would go to Catholic school. It was half, 50-50. I've never went to an all Black school, but to be sent away, and it was just a real culture shock. But I know now, especially being grounded in the truth of oneness, that was a very, very, very good move on my parents to immerse me in that culture, because I did grow up not looking at the color of people's skin, and I stopped identifying with the color of my skin a long time ago. And when you shared, so you share, because you said that you also do not identify with the color of your skin.
I think and identification is such an interesting word, and I agree with you, and I think it's identification, defining, and for me it was similar to you. I grew up in Brookline, Massachusetts, and my school was pretty much all white. I think there's one other Black kid in my class.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. When you're young, kids honestly, unless their parents talk about it, don't really know race. They see color, but it has no significance.
Exactly.
Until significance is given to them.
Exactly.
So I knew I was Black, but it didn't have any meaning to that. More important thing, my father would say that, you're African, and this and that, and it wasn't a racial thing, it was a cultural statement, not a racial statement. Right. And, but it is, Brooklyn was a suburb of Boston, so, you definitely had some elements of racism touch in here and there, but nothing that made it overly uncomfortable.
Right.
But clearly society defined me as a Black man. Right. And I was treated like a Black man, and then something felt a little bit off, but I didn't really get what it was.
Right.
So as a kid, you don't really understand the depths of racial culture.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? So when I moved to Ghana, someone had mentioned being the dot in the room, and that was the black dot on the white page.
Right.
And then when I went to Ghana, and I went to a boarding school, I think I was the lightest person out of 2,000 people in my boarding school.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, I went from being
right,
black kid, saying, "Oh, the white kid that just came." wait a second here. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? And I'm Black. I'm clearly Black. I've been Black all my life.
Right.
And they look at me like I'm crazy, They're like, okay, Joe. It's almost as if I said to a room full of white people here, "I'm white. I've been white all my life." And people look at me like I was crazy. And it literally is that extreme. It's like, you can't, if everyone is one tone and someone is different, you can't try and tell them that you're the same.
Yes. I understand what you're saying, because my mom is Black. Well, she's gone. She's crossed over. She's transitioned is the word I use.
Okay.
But my mom was born with blue eyes and blonde hair.
Wow.
My great-grandfather, my mother's grandfather was 100% Irish. And my mom was the lightest, the fairest skin of all my grandmother's children. All of her children were fair skinned, but my mother came out the fairest. And so in the kindergarten, I'll never forget, in kindergarten when my mom would come pick me up, the kids would say, "Oh, you're adopted." And I'm like, what?
Wow.
I'm like, what do you mean I'm adopted?
Wow.
Because your mom is white. I'm like, I remember saying this clear. She's not white. She's just light-skinned. So
Wow.
yes. So I understand. And your mom, like maybe the listeners may not know, I've met your mom. She is white. She is a Canadian, and you are African Canadian, not African American.
Yeah.
Yes.
My mom barely tans. I always laugh because I'm like, if you were to take two ends of the spectrum, you'd say dark. My dad is not is dark.
Right.
No white blood, and my mom is, from Northern Ontario. And
yes, and my daughter took after my mother. She's extremely fair. I thought after she was born, I'm like, okay, she's gonna brown up a little bit. She never did. Listen, there's my mother, and she doesn't tan. She burns. She doesn't.
Doesn't tan. Burn. Yeah. It's funny. I've got 3 biological boys. And, well, the first one is kind of darker, and the next one is darker with tighter hair. The next one is lighter with kind of a lighter color hair. Then the third one is right in between.
Yes.
And it's come on, any color.
Yes, this is true. And so when I personally awoke to the truth of oneness, because for me, oneness is my mission. Like I started this show 3 years ago after my son transitioned. My son transitioned in 2014, and 6 months after his transition, I felt I needed more of a purpose. Or Spirit just told me, you have to share this truth of oneness with the world. And now that with technology, I can do my own radio show from home and reach the world. And so that's why I started this show. And I have guests from all walks of life, and all like science and spirituality and artists and musicians and all kind people of all walks of life. And they all share this truth that we are all connected and we are one. So I know that my skin color in this embodiment is just a vehicle. Just like I just bought my first white car. I just bought a new car about a month ago, and it's the first time I've had a white car. And I see it done. Someone told me white cars don't show a lot of dirt. Yes, it does. I'm like, okay. But for me, my body, my skin color, in this embodiment is just a vehicle to get around, but it's not something I identify with, because if I identify with just my skin color, that would be a separation from the oneness.
Yeah, and I think, people often get confused, I think.
Yes.
When people hear I don't identify with my skin color, they think, oh, you're not proud to be African American, you're not proud to be black. That's not the same.
That's not.
It's right. It's like being part of a I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's a culture that you embrace and that I embrace. As time goes on, I've taken in a lot of African American culture because I've lived here so long.
Right.
Part of the culture that I celebrate and love.
Right.
But it doesn't inherently. It's independent. The culture is independent of my
identity.
Yes,
exactly. And that's exactly, because like I said, I don't subscribe to any one religion, but I have respect for all religions. I mean, whatever your religion, I respect your religion, I respect your belief, but I don't personally identify or say I am one religion. So that's the same way I feel about my skin color. I have respect for all people and all cultures, and I can honor and take part in all cultures. But I identify with the oneness of all things. The unity, the connection, the love, and that we are all a part of God. We are all aspects of God. So that is what I identify with.
Yeah. It's like oh gosh, you just kind of you hit something. Eckhart Tolle.
Yes. One of my favorite books, The Power of Now.
See, I like Power of Now. My favorite is A New Earth.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, I didn't get him fully until I listened to the New Earth, and one of the things he does really well, I think, is take pieces of all the different religions and bring them kind of together in their interpretations, and the kind of similarities in past. But one thing that he talks about is that the more one is identifying with an external factor, the more that is your own ego or your own self, and the more the more individualistic, or narcissistic is the wrong word, but the more you're looking as an ego thought to identify with external things, as opposed to being, which is more of a oneness of spirit to a certain degree. And I'm also not religious, and I'm also not, I wouldn't call myself, I'm not, I guess being a math person, I'm kind of one of these people that's, I'm not spiritual, but I believe I am spiritual, but just not in the way people typically think of it.
I got you.
Think of it.
Yes, think of it, yes.
You know, I feel like I really believe in the concept of the ego being something external to the self, to the true self. And I also really strongly believe that, for me at least, I feel like that I physically feel positive and negative energy in my actions and the way they connect to other people.
It's interesting.
So without having to put a word on it, I know if I've done good or I've done bad in a simple way, in my mind.
In the heart.
In the heart.
Yes.
In the heart.
Yeah. And your heart will always, because I believe that heart I think we are all connected at that heart level. And the heart will always, like you said, like, I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should go apologize, and that comes from within the heart.
That's right.
We all have that. We all have that heart guidance system.
Something interesting. There's been a lot of research out nowadays on the stomach. Interesting fact. They say that our stomach has more neurons than a dog's brain, and that a lot of the regulation of our actions is actually triggered from things in the stomach. And so when you say you have a gut feeling of something, or your stomach is telling you this and that, your gut's telling you this and that, it actually might be to us.
Exactly.
And it's that.
I'm not sure if now this is something I think you would be very interested in. Have you ever heard of heart math?
No, I haven't.
You should Google heart math.
I'm going to take a look at that.
Because heart math has proven scientifically that your heart has a larger brain than your brain. And it's your heart that actually controls the brain and not the other way around. And this is scientifically proven. So I've had the founder of Heart Math, one of the leaders in Heart Math, on my show. Matter of fact, the first year, his name is Howard Martin, and but I am very familiar with the work of Heart Math, and they do a lot of scientific research on the heart and how powerful the heart actually is, and it's actually the heart that controls the brain and not the other way around.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very interesting. But yeah, and you were saying Eckhart Tolle. I was so glad I do have the audiobook New Earth. I haven't finished it. I started it, didn't get a chance to finish it.
You're an audiobook fan? Are you an audiobook fan as well?
Yes, I am. Now
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, with The Power of Now, I have the physical book and I read it. Now I tried to read it before I understood oneness. And I got to the first chapter, I couldn't understand a word and put it down. Yeah. Once I understood oneness and that all things are connected, that was a key awakening for me. I picked that book up and I read it from cover to cover, and I listened to it. So I read the book and listened to the audiobook. And so now I do understand that now is all there is, and that in that now is our point of power. So
Yeah.
I really try to stay focused in the now. That's why for me, everything happens in perfect divine timing. I don't try to over control how things happen. I just allow them.
Allow them to come.
Yes, I allow them to happen.
How did you I know your son's transition was a period of, I guess, of reflection for you.
Well,
how did you make that? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, finish your question.
Where did the understanding of oneness, what was that clicking point, that point that?
Okay, the clicking point was, it's actually science. It was a science documentary, and this was before my son's transition and before my son got ill. It was in 2007 when I watched a documentary film on quantum physics called "What the Bleep." So
yes, I've heard of that. I haven't seen it.
Okay, it's a documentary on quantum physics. So it's not about spirituality at all. But I've been studying spirituality off and on for 30 years. And I would always, there was a missing piece for me. I'm like, sounds good, but something was missing. Now, when I watched this documentary, What the Bleep, which was all about quantum physics, and at the core of quantum physics is oneness. Everything is energy, and so keeping quantum physics down to its simplest level.
Yep.
Everything is energy, and that energy is interconnected and interdependent. Meaning, just like when you drop a rock in the ocean, how it ripples.
Yep.
Yes. And that's exactly, that energy is just it's all connected, and what happens to one piece of that energy affects the whole of that energy. And that, there was one statement by Lynn McTaggart, who is a journalist, a science journalist. She said, the biggest problem in the world today is the illusion of separateness, thinking that we're separate. And when you think about that, how does war start? War starts because we think that person is separate from us and I can go and kill them. When you understand that there is nothing separate from you, it's all connected, then that knowledge, imagine if mankind, if everyone on the planet, all 7 billion, people woke up tomorrow knowing that they were connected to everyone and everything. That would put an end to war overnight.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how disconnected we often are, and even especially in these times. And there's something as simple as, let's call it healthcare. And I don't even want to talk about specific policies per se.
Right.
But the idea of, shouldn't we just take care of each other?
Yes, and I think, you know what, you made me think of Rodney King. Can't we all just get along?
Can't we all just get along? Can't we all just take care of each other?
Yes, Rodney King.
Am I my brother's keeper?
Yes. And love your neighbor as yourself, and everyone is your neighbor. That's Jesus's words. It's honestly, the truth of oneness is so simple in unity. You can make it complicated. Now, it was funny because I had a quantum physics guest on my show many years, several years ago, and I made a statement, and he had to admit that the statement was accurate, but he said I simplified it, and he said when you simplify things, you take things away. Of course, I wasn't going to debate him on the I just let him have that, but I'm thinking, no, simplifying it down to the simplest element does not take away from it, because there are a lot of scientists now really talking about the truth of oneness, but they're talking about it in a scientific way where people are thinking it's over their head and they can't, I don't understand quantum physics and all these equations and all this, algorithms and all that. You don't need to. Take it down to the simplest element. We are just all one. And what you do to another person, you're literally doing to another aspect of yourself. And when you truly, when mankind, and I believe mankind is making a shift right now, more and more people are understanding and awakening. And I say awakening because it's something on the spiritual level we already know that we're one. But in our humanness, we have forgotten. We have and we chose to forget.
Yes.
But it's time to wake up. It's time to
Because it's easier to forget.
Yes, yes, yes.
In the short run. It's easier to be individualistic.
Yes, 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 yes. And the word individual, you know what that means? Individual means you can't be divided. Individual. You can't be divided. So, and even in the word individual, when you really, really analyze the word, it's telling you you can't be divided.
That's true.
You can't be separated. Yes. Yes. So but it is, and so after my son, so I actually awoke into the truth of oneness before my son's transition, but after his transition, it felt like, and he's with me. He's told me that he's very proud of what I'm doing from Spirit. He's told me he's very proud of the show, and he's my co-host. So he's always with me. And I know that there's nothing but eternal life. And even though he's not in his physical body anymore, I know I can still communicate with him. I know he's still with me. And I know that life goes on after we shed this body.
That's right. Because we're energy. And that energy cannot be created or destroyed, they say, right?
Exactly.
Cannot be destroyed.
Exactly. And here's the wonderful thing. Science is now saying everything spirituality and ancient wisdom has been saying for eons. Science is finally catching up. But the masses, the mainstream media and the masses have not caught up yet. But it's just slowly getting there, especially with the internet and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting. It's almost as if society in and of itself has a mind.
Yes, it's a collective. Yes.
A collective.
The collective mind. Yes. Yes.
Collective
Very
mind.
true.
What movie was that? The Collective Mind. It was a movie.
Was it a movie?
It was in a movie. The Collective. I can't remember.
Okay.
I love movies that kind of play with the alternate versions of the realities that we have now.
Well,
because surprisingly, they actually look like the truth at any given time.
The truth, that is true, because Hollywood is, if you watch movies nowadays, there are bits and pieces. Now, things that we think are like far-fetched, they're really bringing in truth. Even the Star Trek series back in the 60s.
Yeah.
I've been told, and I kind of believe it, that a lot of those episodes were channeled through spirit, meaning they were downloaded with the information of things that will come in the future. So kind of prophecies. So I believe Hollywood is really introducing us on a mass scale to things that are true, that we think, that's just make-believe.
It is pretty incredible. Those little things that they would hold to talk to each other.
Yes.
And it looked like that's crazy. That'll never be true. And then it's...
Look at that sound. Beam me up, Scotty.
Beam me up, Scotty, right?
And those are... And
Can you believe it? It's insane.
I still have a flip phone. That's why I keep... I love my flip phone, because I'm like, beam me up, Scotty, all the time. Yes, it's so true. It's so true.
It's funny. I've been collecting the first versions of different technologies that have come out, because technology's changed so quickly nowadays.
Yes.
Just like the first iPhone that we had, or the Palm Pilot. I don't know if you remember that, and BlackBerry, or the two-way pager, and things like that, just to kind of keep a hold on.
Now, do you remember? Now, I'm a little bit older than you. Actually, I thought you were younger when I first met you. I thought you were around my son's age, but you're actually closer to my age. But
Yes.
Do you remember? You probably don't remember it. In the late 80s, they were coming out with car phones before cell phones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Remember?
Oh yeah, they were big with big bricks.
Yeah,
it was almost like a house phone,
Yes.
The top and the bottom together, that type of size.
Yes.
Well, actually, they had almost briefcase ones at one point. Before.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I remember
Yes.
those.
And then when cell phones came out.
I actually think I only saw one in my life because they were super expensive.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
yes.
I saw them on TV all the time.
Yes.
But I don't think I saw many of them.
I remember in like 88, 89 thinking about getting a car phone. I was like, I never did, thankfully, because it would be obsolete like in a few years.
And it's unbelievable how quickly things become obsolete nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah, very true, very true. But see, I am old school. I still have my flip phone because I work on a computer. I work on 3 computers all day long. I work from home, and you know, when I'm not teaching piano, I'm on the computer. So when I'm not on the computer, I don't want my phone to be a computer. I just want my phone to be able to call someone in case of an emergency. I have a flat tire, you know. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is amazing. Now, I know we got off track, but that's okay. I want you to tell us more about your goals with music and math. Music loves math.
So, you know, what's interesting, so recently I just, I was given a large plot of land in my father's village.
Okay.
So we are going to build a new school there.
Awesome.
And now that there is, the village only got only got water in the past 20 years.
Okay.
But now has internet access as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a classroom, a library, and a computer lab.
Awesome.
With 20 to 25 computers and, believe it or not, high-speed internet in the village.
Awesome.
And so there are multiple schools in the area that we are going to give access to our computer lab, where we'll have teachers to facilitate the education. It's interesting. Right now, a lot of these classes, like the school right next to my school has, I think, 3 laptop computers that the teachers can use, but they can't. They teach computer science and technology on a blackboard.
Okay.
There's no actual. This is a mouse and they draw it. They're not actually using it.
Oh, okay.
We know that the facility is really going to be widely used. And that during the day, and then at night, we're going to have additional classes for kind of exceptionally talented students, and hopefully become a center of excellence in computer science and math for the area.
Awesome.
Because my longer term vision for Ghana is to have its economy shift towards India's to a certain degree, where we're exporting intellect, human capital. We're doing coding and development and call centers and all these things. We're not exporting of our raw resources. We're exporting our minds, essentially.
Okay, awesome.
And,
well, I'm hoping a part of your school, I know the science and the math is all great, and the computer lab is amazing, but you're going to also have a music class, aren't you?
Yes, well, I do a lot of my a lot of my music on the computers.
Okay.
So I use my computers all you need once you have a computer is a $20 keyboard.
Yes.
And you can not only play the piano, you can play any sound you want.
Right. Very true.
Any sound you want.
Yes. Very true. Awesome. Very good. Wow. That is.
It's exciting. We just started making the bricks. One of my uncles happens to be does some contracting as well, so he's going to help me build it.
Wow. Awesome.
And one of the challenges of working in a developing country is getting things done and corruption and things like that. But luckily, because he's from that village, he's really incentivized to help facilitate it, make sure it happens.
Wow.
Moves along well.
That's great.
So I'm excited. I can't wait till it happen. You definitely will be invited when it opens. We're opening around Christmas time. And
really?
And actually, I'll be doing a tour kind of around Ghana with the school that I teach at now.
Okay.
And that's May or June, and we'll go to that school as well. So if you feel like taking a trip to Ghana and getting an experience, you can join us.
I would love to. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you. And I definitely want to take you up on that offer. I would love to, because
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
it sounds like fun, and sounds like a wonderful, wonderful vision that I see. And
Yes.
and I know because you read Eckhart Tolle,
Yes.
know that if you can envision it, it already is.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Awesome. That is so amazing. So you plan. So the opening is this December.
Opening should be this Christmas, around sometime in December.
Okay.
And then, but the trip with my school will be in June, so I'll be going both times.
Okay.
You can come either time.
Okay.
And it'll be great because it's actually in my father's village, so it's not, you won't only get a taste of the city, but it's also kind of true rural Ghana.
Wow. And I know you said your dad transitioned last year. I think last year was it around Christmas time?
Yeah, it was right February.
Okay. Now your dad transitioned, but he's not gone, and
No.
he is so proud of you. I just know it. I feel it in my heart. He's so proud of what you're doing, especially in your hometown, in your home, because that is your home too.
Yes.
As much as his home.
It is.
Yes.
It is. It's exciting.
Yes, very exciting.
Exciting.
Wow. I'm like so touched because another thing I had started also, I founded a nonprofit in my son's memory, which I envision it to be more like community center for everyone of all religions and a oneness community center. And
I like that.
Yeah, the name of it is the Kyle Foundation, because Kyle is my son's name, but Kyle, Kyle, is an acronym for for Keep Your Light Expanding.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So but I can envision that having a oneness center and the school in Ghana. See, I just connected with your vision.
There you go.
Yes. Because I think what it is for me. I feel that when we know who we truly are, that we're not just flesh and blood. We're not just mere mortals. We're so much more. And when we know that in our heart, we radiate. We radiate that, and we live our purpose.
Yes.
And that is what I love children. Like, I teach them music and I share with them, you do what you love, follow your passion, do what you love, and you never have to work a day in your life.
Yes.
So I teach all my students that. So
and I think that is the blessing, the biggest blessing you could possibly get.
Yes. So I think it's so important to share all of this, the math, the science, the music, and the oneness, the knowledge of who they are.
Yes.
One with the divine. Whatever name you want to, Allah, Jesus, whatever name. He is to any name. And know that you're one with him at all times. And I think it's so important for for everyone to wake up and know that, but especially for our young generation.
Absolutely.
Our children.
Because they make the future.
Yes.
They are us.
They are us. They are us. Yes. And we are them.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. This has been so amazing. So
Thank you.
I'm so glad you came on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. I will definitely stay in touch, because I would love to go to Ghana.
That would be great.
Maybe videotape and have a show just with videotapes of Ghana.
Absolutely. I've got some really interesting people you can meet there as well, and do record some shows there.
Awesome. I have my tripod and my video camera ready.
Right.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. Now, is there a website that anyone can go to right now?
I don't have a website yet, because so far I've been funding it with my just myself and one of my good friends. But with this new with the new school, it's going to probably require us to raise some money to help us finish it. Yes. So I will have one, and I'll make sure I send that information on to you so you can put it on the video.
All right. Well, you know what? I might be able to help you out as a volunteer.
That would be great. Yeah.
Because I do websites, and that's another one of my gifts and talents.
Oh, that's great.
We have to connect, because
Yes,
just
absolutely.
having an online presence is always good, and
It
I
is
can help
important.
you out with that. Not a
That'd be
problem.
great. That's great.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's great.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I loved meeting you and your mom, and I am just so glad that you came on the show, and I am very excited. I'm just so excited for the future, because I know that all of our visions, your vision, my vision, all of our visions are going to come, and they already are, because everything happens in the now, and it's already happening in the now.
It's happening now. And actually, I have a video that I did a couple years ago of my school.
It.
Yeah, you found it. Okay.
I found it.
Great.
I'm going to use it.
Great.
When I write the blog for this show, I have that video. I will have that video connected, yes. And send me anything else that you find.
Okay.
So I can put that together too.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
All righty. I'm going to
Thank
say
you.
bye. Okay.
Bye-bye.
And we're going to stay in touch. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bye-bye.